From r/fanfiction, what made you stop reading a fanfic halfway through? For me, it is when they start bashing a character halfway through the fic when in the beginning they established them as a sympathetic character. Credit to user AnxiousManxious09 for starting this Reddit thread, and let's go read some answers. When the slight out of characterness just gets cumulative instead of understandable. Improper and very excessive use of Japanese honorifics. Overuse of epithets. I read a My Hero Academia fic where they kept calling Bakugo the Ash Blonde, and I had to leave after the 3rd chapter. Just use their names, it's not that hard. I'm reading a ship fic, and the characters instantly start acting lovey-dovey and completely out of character when they get together, especially if that isn't like their personalities at all. It instantly pulls me out and is an immediate deal breaker. When I realize the story is almost over, I'm at the halfway point and I'm like, oh no. Well, it can't end if I don't finish it. That's probably a very weird reason. When my laptop ran out of battery and I forgot the charging cable while only halfway done with reading the fic. Losing it among my tabs. Probably the number one reason why I stop halfway through is I just get bored and move on to something else. Like, I'm sorry, but your well-crafted slow burn has turned into the match and fuel source are on different sides of the universe, so there will be no burn until the universe contracts. Then I'll just get bored and move on. Nothing against slow burn, I just prefer my slow burn to be characters meeting in chapter 1 rather than they first meet in chapter 50. Oh god, I used to always finish them, but then I developed taste. A lot of times I'll find a fic with an amazing concept but with not so great execution. It's typically the no one would ever say that scenes, or scenes where characters make choices that simply make zero sense logically or for their character. I read plenty of angst fics, and a problem I see with some of the ones I dropped is poor pacing. They start out strong but keep going until it drags because the main character always has to be in pain or something. There can be no emotional weight to a scene if there's no relief to the character's plight. When I saw the phrase, "Dark ebon locks flowed loose in the breeze while his emerald spheres gazed haughtily down at the conquered foe beneath him, her body a wonder as his eyes feasted on its bountiful bodaciousness." 1. Ebon, really? 2. Emerald spheres? 3. Gazing haughtily? 4. Bountiful bodaciousness. The moment a character unironically drops a baby girl, I'm hitting that backspace bar. I say this as a Swiftie, but it was when they used Taylor Swift lyrics as dialogue one too many times, and it was the 2nd time they had used that one particular lyric. Honestly, this is 100% just a me thing, but it would have to be embarrassing or cringy moments. I'm sorry, but my secondhand embarrassment can get so strong that I just want to shrivel up in a ball and either skip over that part or portion it out over an hour. Same, if my skull is collapsing in on itself due to cringing so hard, then I just drop a fic and move on. The repetition of my smaller pet peeve. If it comes up once, I can ignore it. If it comes up every so often, I stop reading. Something upsetting coming up that should have been tagged, but was not. Untagged major character death halfway through the fic because the author wanted it to be a surprise. Infidelity. I don't want to read about it, especially if I'm emotionally invested in their relationship. Too much purple prose and lengthy internal monologues from the characters that went around in circles. Ah yes, the poison type beat. This is part of why I'm always wary of fics with really long chapter lengths. For many of them, at a certain point it feels like they were just trying to hit a word count. There was a PMD fanfic I was reading that had an entire letter written in German with a translation at the bottom of the chapter. Then all throughout the story there were German words interspersed within the story and then definitions at the bottom of the chapter as well. Each word rarely ever comes up again. I don't want to have to stop reading and go all the way to the bottom just to figure out what the hell I'm supposed to understand, then go all the way back up and continue. I had to do this every chapter, and it got annoying really quick. I stop reading a fanfic halfway through when the writer has written a character in a way that is so unbelievably racist that it boggles the mind. Like if a black character is written in the fic in a way where they are speaking Ebonics, or if the black character is unbelievably stereotypical, I'm just clicking off the page. I am a black person, and I can tell you that most characterizations of black people in predominantly white fandoms in terms of fanfiction are extremely wrong. I would much rather a white person who doesn't know anything about black people to not write about blacks, instead of getting it so wrong that it boggles the imagination. I hate it when people include a character in their fic but write them completely out of character to the point where the only thing that remained grounded in the original characterization was their appearance. Not sure why it bothers me so much, but I do think it's difficult to capture a character's essence in a fic while also making it your own. TDDC, also known as Too Dark, Don't Care. When you showed up for meaningful horror and depression, and left after the nth time, it was like, and then everything bad that could happen happened because reasons and edge. I keep coming across fics where characters who have an argument or miscommunication suddenly become extremely out of character upon discussing it, as if the author is personally speaking through the character while reading through a list of whatever buzzword will make the interaction seem healthier or more morally acceptable or whatever. Similarly with smut, characters changing drastically just to go off on a tangent about the importance of consent and such to the readers. It just feels really insincere and forced. The main couple finally gets together, yay! But they use terms of endearment for one another that read very wrong to me. Sudden, untagged appearances of a ship I don't care for. A sex scene finally happens, but it has weird Christian vibes. I don't know how to explain this, but it is something that happens in hetfics from time to time, especially in older hetfics. One time I was reading a good fic and the main character was randomly revealed to be an angel. No angels exist in the series. When an original main character is a Mary Sue or depicted as flawless, I get that a lot of fics are also power fantasies, most of mine are, but when your main character is the head of their department, is an up-and-coming singer-songwriter, volunteers to feed the homeless, and has 3 PhDs by the time they're 21, I'm gonna call bullshit on believability, even if it's fanfic and anything can happen. And dialogue, when what characters say or the turn of phrases they use don't match the setting. Like, if it's a fic set in the 1800s and modern language is used, or if a British character keeps using more Americanized words or phrases like terms of endearment or the like. Why? Because it breaks me out of my immersion. Too much repetition. I've read stories where each chapter is a reaction from different characters to the same scene, when it could have been done in one chapter. I understand point of view, but 5 chapters of repetition is just word padding in my opinion. Another is when a character does a complete 180 personality shift with no real reasoning behind it. Like, hey, it's Tuesday, I think I'll be evil now. Give me a reason for the shift. A canon divergent fic that somehow ends up following canon events and using canon dialogue. Recently there was a fic I really wanted to get into. The premise was great, general execution pretty good, but for some strange reason the author chose to do every line of dialogue in a weird block quote format. I couldn't handle it. Untagged Mpreg. I was looking for angst. There was literally major character death in the warnings. Didn't expect that. Mangled grammar and punctuation errors usually turn me off near the start of a story, first paragraphs most of the time. But if I stop when I've made significant headway into a story, it's usually because I've lost interest, which isn't saying much. My ADHD-riddled brain makes me lose interest at the drop of a hat. Along with my high standards, it makes finding worthwhile stories difficult. Last update, November 5th, 2016. I was asked to stop reading by the author. A very big thank you to my Patreon members, my Little Ruse, Seltzer Fountain Man, and Kuski55. You can join my Patreon too if you want to have your name read at the end of my videos, and get access to some of the original versions of videos I've had to change for YouTube. And of course, thank you to everyone who watched the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what's something that makes you stop reading a fanfiction halfway through. I'd say that I tend to like reading really short stories, so if it's short and it's still taking a while to get to the interesting part, then I'm probably gonna click off. That's my low attention span. And of course, to all my fellow writers, don't worry about what other people stop reading for, just write what you enjoy. You can't write something that will please everyone, so the best thing you can do is just write what pleases yourself. Have a wonderful day, everyone. I'll see you in the next video.